All right. Okay. Apologies for the delay, everyone. I promise to make the most use of your time ongoing. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today for today's webinar. Um, hmm. Oh, so Donna says she does see the globe. If there is anybody I don't know if attendees have the globe, Emily, but some are telling me they do have the globe. So perchance it's able to go. Um, all right. Okay. Well then, okay, great. Sounds like it's good. Awesome. Well, thank you for your patience. I really appreciate that. We got it going. Okay, today's webinar is staff benefits and compensation, available in English and in Spanish. You'll just follow Emily's instructions to click on that globe at the bottom of the screen if you need that Spanish interpretation. We are here today for the Georgia Thriving Childcare Business Academy. My name is Shannon, and I'll be your presenter for today. I'm working with part of a national team of childcare business coaches and trainers from Civitas Strategies. You can see that here. We are working with the Thriving Childcare Business Academy to bring Georgia business owners, providers, critical information, resources, and skill building that will support business success and sustainability. Today's session will last about an hour, and it also includes valuable Q&A time. Feel free to use the chat throughout as needed. We will try to be, as responsive as we can in both the chat and the Q&A. If you have a question throughout, you can kind of queue that up for yourself, and we'll get to that at the end. If it is something that needs clarifying or something technical wise that Margaret can help with, we'll do our best to get to those immediately as possible. We look forward to engaging in this conversation with you, and at the end, especially to make sure you have all the answers that you need. All right, let's go ahead. So just a little bit of a disclaimer before we start. The information contained here has been prepared by us at Civitas, is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. And the Civitas Strategies team has used all our expertise and reasonable effort in collecting, preparing, and providing this information. But there's always going to be things you might need more information on. And for that, of course, like this does not meant to replace any client or attorney or other kind of like official advisory relationship. We also don't allow reproduction of this information, and only non-commercial use is permitted. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our topic today. Choosing whether to offer staff benefits as part of your compensation is a really difficult decision for any small business owner, any business owner. Often cost and affordability are primary factors. While compensation is likely the #1 factor in an employee's choice to enter and stay in a job, benefits are a critical piece of that, right? Certainly the cost of the employee benefits adds another expense to the balance sheet, to your balance sheet. However, you can't minimize the invisible cost savings of the value that benefits bring to the business. And so today we want to talk through some of those things. The conversation that we'll have will explore why offering benefits to the employees is important. We'll identify some commonly offered benefits and discuss next steps for you in deciding to offer benefits. So we really want to give you some actionable steps to move forward on this topic. All right, so key to, of course, understanding benefits as part of overall compensation is knowing what is fair and competitive pay. You'll want to think in advance about setting a competitive wage to give you the best chance of attracting and recruiting the best candidates. A little data collection can help you better understand what constitutes fair and competitive pay in your market. And every market is going to be different. So you want to make sure you understand that completely. The more that you understand about the labor market and the competition that you face for high quality staff, the better you can compete when you're recruiting. And of course, as you all know, this is a really competitive space. You need to have an edge, not just in recruiting, but also in retention. This information can give you the tools to increase employee morale and engagement as you think about retention too. So there are both sides of that. And in the next slide, I want to show you some step-by-steps for conducting a simple salary study or a salary benchmarking, as it's sometimes called. This is a really rapid way to understand prevailing compensation. And when we say compensation, I just want to be really clear. We mean total compensation. That's salary or wages and benefits. And of course, that's the topic of our conversation today. This process is quick. It's meant to be quick. We want you to know where you stand in terms of full compensation among similar benefits, similar jobs, other positions in the area. And I really want to emphasize this should be very simple. We want it to be done easily, be able to customize it as needed, of course, and to provide you in a very little amount of time with some critical info. So let's look at that. So here are 3 steps to completing a compensation study. You can see them here on your screen. I'll walk through them really quickly. For the first step, you'll complete a set of compile a set of peer organizations and businesses. You're looking for firms or organizations that are as like yours as possible. Think about the services that you offer, the size of your business, where you are in terms of geography, like in the neighborhood, who you serve, the type of staff you're hiring, right? Highly experienced and versus mid-level experiences versus, entry level or more inexperienced. If you have an idea in your business of who your competitors are, that's a good place to start, right? They could be very useful for this exercise. You want to use what you have available, those in your network, online research, and then kind of narrow to a pool of a group of companies that you feel like best represents that person that you're looking for or the group that you want to hire. See what you can find out about the salary ranges for each organization. Check business websites, third-party sites, even like Google can be very helpful at this point. You want salary info, but also look around for any indication of any benefits that are offered. You can also call directly those benefits and ask for additional detail. When you think about gathering this information, the information you're looking for doesn't have to necessarily be current, but you want it to be something within the last year or so. I think in this market, it's smart to make sure that your data that you're collecting is within like 24 months. Keep reviewing and comparing that gathered data against who you're hiring and what you're hiring, what you're looking for. Try to keep as close as possible to the things that you want to see in the position that you're hiring, because that'll be apples to apples, right? Once you have that data that you collected, of course, you want to remove outliers that are very high or very low. In terms of salaries or offerings, those are usually anomalies. And they will, if you kind of keep them in, it'll throw off your averages. And once you can kind of have that group of here's what people are offering, you can see like there's going to be a low category, a high category, and then a medium category. And ideally, you want to be offering something that's in that top 50%. That's our advice in terms, and this is going to give you the best sense of what that top 50, that upper 50% is going to look like. Now, we always tell clients that it's critical to be realistic about what you can afford. It's not in your best interest as a business or an organization to overtax your budget hiring a top performer, especially when somebody who's less experienced and could be trained on the job will do, right? Alternatively, consider benefits that you could offer top talent or more top talent in lieu of that higher wage, right? Like if you know you can't afford the highest wages in your group of surveys, think about what else you can do, like reduce childcare rates, professional development opportunities, even like bonuses, strategic use of bonuses. And we're going to talk about those benefits or some of those ancillary like offerings for that compensation package. At the end of the day, even if you want to offer the highest pay or the best benefits, you probably can't, right? If your budget won't allow it. All right. So all of this information is going to allow you to be competitive in the hiring process that you're undertaking. And of course, that's the end result, right? You want to be competitive as an employer. But then also moving forward, thinking about that retention in a long-term way. Structuring and formalizing pay for your employees is going to support that retention. This information that you've gathered, right, as part of your salary scan, salary benchmarking, will help inform a pay structure that really justifies what each of your employees is earning, based on that logic that you've identified. At every step along the way, you'll want to consider your budget and your cash flow to make the most sound, sustainable business decisions that you can. You can also continue to listen and get feedback from your employees. That's really important, and we'll kind of come back to that moving forward, as well as continuing to track the market. That market research that we just talked about is not something that happens just one and done. So again, we're going to look at benefits moving forward, but there, some things you might consider even temporarily or permanent if you allow like that free or reduced cost childcare, paid time off, supply stipends, professional development assistance or tuition reimbursements. And we're going to talk about the next two, health insurance or assistance with premiums, and then retirement contributions. So all of that will be upcoming. And of course, like I mentioned this a second ago, as you think about benefits, you'll want to make sure that you're offering the right ones. Investments like these in staff, let them know they are valued. It supports their retention, as we talked about, which in turn reduce your costs around turnover and increases your overall sustainability. But you want to make sure these are the things that they want. So that's why we talk about and we highlight so much about keeping in contact and conversation with your employees. We want to make sure like the things that you're able to offer or that you're considering offering intersect with what you can afford and also make sense for the business and are the things that they want. So we have that kind of Venn diagram there. Often offering benefits too, I'll say, has financial benefits to you and your business, including, of course, I mentioned reduced training and turnover costs, increased enrollment stability, right? Families like to see that as well, less recruiting time, and potentially, of course, also some like tax breaks, right? If you're in some like retirement offerings, etc. Okay, so why offer benefits? And now, of course, more than ever, you're probably thinking about the culture of your workplace and ways to reward and invest in your staff and make sure you can like hire and attract and retain the qualified staff that you need to run your program. Benefits can be a really great tool to do that in the job market that we're in right now. Benefits come with a cost, of course, but failing to offer them also has financial consequences for the business. Thinking about the loss of loyal staff, the inability to have effective recruiting, and the impact of unsatisfied employees. So, we know this is important. It's critical to attract and keep skilled staff members. The bottom line is that benefits are important and childcare businesses should aim to incorporate them wherever possible. You have to be an informed consumer, researching your options, knowing your competition, understanding what's available, and what questions those prospective employees, your employees are going to be asking you. That's all important as you kind of move forward in this benefits journey. So depending on your company size, and whether individual employees meet certain requirements, there may be some benefit, and I kind of alluded to this earlier when I talked about tax breaks, that are legally required of you, like workers' compensation, family medical leave, even medical insurance. So those are things that you probably have to do. There are other benefits that aren't required, but are really common out there, and you'll likely see that amongst your peer businesses who are, have these offerings. They're also, as we know, we keep saying, a critical like decision-making factor for those employees that you want to recruit. So let's look at some of those common benefits. The thing that I want to say outright that's kind of buried in the comments that I just made is at everything you have a choice on in terms of benefits comes with a range of options. Some people think that when we think benefits, it's all or nothing. And it's not at all, not in terms of cost and not in terms of offering. So I do want to say that up front as we kind of go through these. Remember that you have choices, you have options that are going to fit for your business and for your employees. So I want to emphasize that. Oh, there we go. All right, the first step let's talk about is paid time off or PTO, right? That's a very common benefit. It's widely appreciated. We hear it from childcare employees quite a bit in our work. I'm sure you all do too. This can include holidays, vacations, sick time, if that makes sense for your business. And even if that's, a day, 2 days, a flex day, for example, that can really help and seems to be appreciated. So having the opportunity to access PTO can improve staff overall well-being, which really reduces stress and burnout, which we know is a factor in this business. In a job as demanding as this, we know that that is something that comes up. There's really no hard and fast rule on how many PTO days should be offered, or the amount of time, there's no sweet spot, right? And it's not all, you also don't need to, that also doesn't need to stay the same over the time that the employee is with you. That can be something that increases with their longevity as well. So consider that even a little bit of something in here goes a long way. I mentioned health insurance. Health insurance is one of the first things that comes to mind when someone thinks of the term benefits, and that's for good reason. It's highly sought after by employees and job candidates. And as such, we really say that if there is one benefit that's worth offering to your employees, health insurance is really one to consider. And again, I'll echo here, remember that there are options that range in cost and depth. So keep that in mind as we move forward. In addition to medical coverage, this benefit can also include dental or vision or prescription coverage. Options within this offering range from like a full health insurance or assistance with premiums, that the employer is covered, to even just telehealth options for employees or access to telehealth, or discount programs where like there's some sort of partnership that offers that discount. Typically, you would find a benefits provider and offer employees certain benefits from that provider. You could cover a portion of the cost that the employee would pay a set amount per pay period towards the cost of the plan. Alternatively, again, remember I talked about that range of options. Another option is to simply coordinate that health plan coverage with the staff, offering coverage without financially contributing or contributing to at a small amount to that employee's elected coverage. And so that access and that coordination can be a really helpful benefit too. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna are two private insurance companies that are frequently named by childcare providers across various states when we asked those folks what companies they used. Small businesses can also, and I can't emphasize this enough, small business owners can also set their staff up to sign up for the Affordable Care Act. The ACA is a comprehensive healthcare reform law that provides affordable insurance for individuals. This law addresses healthcare coverage, healthcare costs, and preventative care. Health insurance premiums continue to they have continued to decrease over the course that ACA has been open, and they're really based on family size and income. And we highly encourage you to check out ACA. The website has a great calculator on, kind of looking for your area and for the size of the employee's family that you have, what that might cost to them. So definitely consider that as a tool. So making sure I'm on time. 1 second. All right. Retirement was the other big one I mentioned. Retirement is another one that really ranges in options that are available to you as the employer and things that might benefit the employee. So when we say retirement, keep in mind that that is a wide range of options that are out there. It's really a lot of things, a lot of products lumped into this one topic. Retirement plans, of course, allow employees to build financial savings that help them meet their personal long-term financial goals. And by the way, that includes you as the business owner. So remember that these benefits benefit you as well. While employees who opt in will need to contribute their desired amount of salary per pay period, the benefits that are provided by these plans are individual tax savings and having the ability to receive a set amount or match their contribution from their employer if you choose. This will allow contributions to grow faster, setting them up for higher earnings for their retirement. And again, like we know one thing about retirement, it's that the earlier is better. So that's again something. There's a lot of options within what we call retirement. Okay. There's also several things that we recommend around temporary pay increases or benefits, and the ability to receive, bonuses. So benefits, I meant bonuses. The ability to receive benefits is a benefit that many employees really appreciate and value, especially during times as, if there are times either like in your business's lifespan, such as COVID or the pandemic or the recovery, that staff have had to work harder, work longer hours under challenging circumstances. Maybe you're short-staffed, and so there's a chance later on to reward the staff that are there. This is these vehicles of bonuses or temporary pay increases, an opportunity to offer you an opportunity to reward hardworking employees for that additional effort that they're putting in. We have several, in the Georgia Thriving Childcare Business Academy resources that will be coming online. There will be several around the temporary pay increases or bonuses that you can learn more about structuring those. But here's a little bit here. I would also think about supplemental insurance programs. Those include coverage like short-term or long-term disability, accidental, other plans to cover unexpected critical health events. Employee assistance programs or EAPs are another example of supplemental insurance that you could kind of offer access for employees to programs that provide mental health or other well-being supports. Those are becoming much more popular, and these are typically more affordable than offering medical insurance, but they don't replace it. But it can be something too, adjacent to that health insurance offering if you're not able to do something around health insurance. Offering discounted childcare, we mentioned that earlier, for the staff's own children. That's a great benefit that most childcare programs or owners provide easily to implement. This gives staff a peace of mind. It can also help them afford the expensive childcare, which would otherwise be kind of a barrier for them in their personal budgets around working. So that's something that, and again, like it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. Think about what that discount could be for your business and your staff. I'll also highlight here professional development for the staff. That's an integral part of the childcare business model. We know that. Not only are there requirements around staff trainings, but the more knowledge that your staff have in child development, the better experience it will be for the children in your care. Many providers find they can offer these benefits by participating in programs like Decal Scholars, and that's offered in Georgia. Consider those options too, and participating in those, because that can have benefits for your staff as well. All right, just a pause here, a reminder to add your questions in the chat if you want me to get to those for Q&A. There will be Q&A time. Hopefully we can get to as many as possible. So just another plug there. We're about halfway done, so we'll get to those at the end. Okay. So let's say you're like, Shannon, I'm sold on benefits. I'm ready to think about it. What's next? So first, you want to decide what benefits you'd like to offer. Consider your organization's budget and goals, as well as your employees' needs, and then think through the types of benefit providers that, or the benefit companies that will help you make it a reality. I'll kind of go through some of those like other companies or benefits providers that you may come across so that you have a better idea of how to navigate that environment. All right. Private insurance, of course, we kind of like talked about health insurance and those Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna options. That's really what we typically think of when we think about private insurance providers. Very traditional companies in that sense. The most common type is a group plan purchased by the employers that covers employees and also potentially their family members. These plans may cost less than an individual seeking their own plan. However, they could still have a hefty price tag, right? It's probably too costly for most average childcare, business owners' budget. It is good to look into those and kind of do some cost modeling and some cost quoting. You can also think about how much you would cover as the employer versus the employee. You can go directly to these go directly to the insurance providers to buy these plans. You could go to a broker, or you can go to the state's health insurance exchange. That exists in most places as well. Outside of offering company-sponsored health insurance, you can still support your employees on an individual basis in accessing low-cost or free health insurance through the ACA. I mentioned that earlier, through the marketplace. You can help ensure that employees are aware of what they may qualify for and facilitate that connection for them to work with a free healthcare navigator who can walk them through their options and walk them through the process. So again, that's you as an employer providing a benefit of coordination and access and information. Also thinking about professional employer organizations, or PEOs. Those offer a way to outsource that human resource function of your business, and they cover things like payroll, employee handbooks, and benefits. Many of you might be already using those for some, it might be like an ADP or a Gusto. PEOs serve as a professional, they serve as a professional employer of your client, of their clients' employees. So PEOs allow small businesses to offer benefits that are usually associated with larger companies because they can leverage that larger network, and you basically work with them to kind of access the things that they're bringing other clients as well. So sometimes those places can offer more affordable rates for insurance and benefits. They could also have some of those tangential services that we talked about, like telehealth or employee assistance programs. Also think about shared service network or other platforms that offer that collaboration, like a Chamber of Commerce, or like I'm based in Texas, and the Texas AEYC does some of those services. By participating in these networks, you receive discounts on certain benefits through companies that partner with that network. Those could be medical, telehealth, dental, vision. You could also have access to money and time-saving services like an insurance broker, and that could be somebody that's vetted for that network. Enrollment specialists may also be aligned with those networks. And they can guide you through the process of setting up some of these benefit options. Typically, membership fees to join those networks are low or no cost. And so again, like when you think about the cost benefit, that can be something that might be helpful depending on what you're looking at. So once we kind of thought, all right, this is something I want to look into, I have a good lay of the land of those folks who can help, we also need to think about affordability. I kind of started there in those first initial slides, and I want to come back to it. Remember, some benefits can be offered at little to no cost, and I want to make sure that's understood, because sometimes I think we think that, again, that benefits are like a naturally big ticket item, and they certainly could be, but they also don't have to be. There also are indivisible costs that that offering benefits could help you mitigate. So costs associated, for example, with employee turnover, this time and resources that you're spending on recruiting, interviewing, training, onboarding, and the disruption that vacancies in classrooms can cause, those things can be offset by offering benefits. And so you're really thinking about the cost benefit here. I encourage, if you're thinking about benefits, a childcare business coach can help understand just how much employee turnover is costing your business. Exploring, like working on your budget and your cash flow can also help you in this process to determine what you can afford, right? As I said in a few slides ago, we don't want to offer things that are not sustainable for our business. So we really want to keep a good eye ongoing on that budget and cash flow. Let's look at the key considerations for health insurance, and particularly around tax credits that can offset the cost of implementing some of these things, so you have a good sense of the dollar signs on both sides of the equation. So determining costs when considering health insurance, as I've said, know that the offerings are incredibly varied. Costs are based on the number of employees you want covered, the location where your business is, the ages of the employees and their families or dependents, what percentage of health insurance premiums you as the employer would like to cover. All of those things change those cost projections. Of course, there are always no or low cost options. In this case, it might mean arranging a group insurance plan for your staff without paying any premiums. That places 100% of the plan cost on the employees if they choose. A higher cost option would be to cover a portion of those insurance premiums for the employees. Typically, that portion begins at 50%. That places the remaining portion of the plan cost on the employee. So it's a shared cost. Employees can add family members at their own expense in that case. And of course, the highest cost option is for you as in the employer to cover a portion of the insurance premium for the employee plus dependents, like a spouse or a child. So those are, again, and remember we talked about some of those alternatives like spending accounts or employee assistance programs, like all of those things could kind of augment or be part of the equation when you think about health insurance costs. And of course, especially around health insurance and retirement, there are tax savings related to benefits. So small businesses can benefit from a tax credit that will reimburse you for half of your contributions towards your employees' premiums, as long as you cover at least 50% or more per employee. So there are other guidelines that you must meet, which in most cases, a typical small to medium-sized childcare business would. So of course, there are always guidelines. And so very likely you would probably qualify for those too. So let's look at an example. If an employee's monthly premium is $235 and you pay 50% of that, you would be eligible for a tax credit of $58.75. Even though the annual cost to you is $1,410 for this employee's benefit, you would receive back $705 when you file your tax return. Those are small business healthcare. Let me get this right. Small business healthcare tax credits. And if you go to that website, let me see, I'm not sure I have that in here, but I know you can Google small business healthcare tax credits, and that website will go to that will go to a site that will give you an example of starting costs for healthcare insurance plans. Those figures right off the bat, looking at them, do not include dependents. We're talking about that just covering 50% of that employee's benefits. If you choose to cover dependents premiums as well, those costs will rise, right? And also costs can be much greater than those outlined in the table that is on that website, based on your circumstances or individual circumstances and any of those selections that you pick. So, oh, thanks, Margaret. Margaret has it. It's in the chat if anybody's interested in that small business healthcare tax credit website. All right. So we've thought a little bit about costs. We've thought about who plays in this field. Once you've thought through the criteria that an employee must meet to be eligible for benefits, and you thought about costs, how the benefits will be administered, monitored, and tracked within your system will really be your next step. So let's look at that. All right. As you decide what benefits to offer, there are really some questions that we consider that you have top of mind. Number one, and we've talked about it a little bit, but I want to emphasize it here, is that sustainability. Is this benefit affordable for you and your business in the long term? What will be the return on the investment? And there are so many factors to consider when you think about that return. We talked about that cost of turnover. We talked about the value of retention. And that's just financially speaking, but there are, of course, a lot of other important values that, or rather benefits that plays into. Does it fit the unique needs of your employees? Will they find value in it? If your goal is to increase retention, is this something that will help? Those are all really important things. And again, you can spend a lot of time and energy and even dollars setting up a benefit that at the end of the day, if you haven't asked your employees, might not be something that's really important to them. So we definitely encourage you to be plugged in with what will be of value to them. Thinking about that total cost, including fees over time and your time as business owner and coordinator to administer that benefit, right? You want to be thoughtful about what that looks like moving forward. And then what are the pros and cons of offering this benefit, or selecting to offer it? What's it going to get you? What's it going to cost you? And weighing those things, because there are definitely both sides of the equation, and finding that sweet spot of what's going to work best for you. Oh, right. Oh, good. Okay. Well, that will take us right up into questions. I do have a few things to close before we close, but I want to pause here and think about questions. I know we put, Margaret put a couple of links in the chat. I also, moving forward, this is covered in my next slide, but I do want to say there are a lot of supporting resources on the Thriving Childcare Business Academy in Georgia. I encourage you to be plugged into those resources. Those are going to support I'm not sure why I see the links and it says that they're all to all. Margaret, can you put those links in and make sure that everyone is the links go post to everybody? Because right now they're just to hosts and panelists. Thank you. Okay, Margaret, we'll take care of that. All right, so I see a question in the Q&A. A few staff members want to take the coverage with them when they leave my employment, and those details can be a little time consuming to transfer over. You're totally right. If that is an issue for you, I highly encourage you to consider that. Talk to those, when you look for partners, when you look for providers for those benefits, talk to them about what that process looks like. At the end of the day, you can help that employee kind of take that coverage with them. But you're going to have a limit to what you are able to do, what you're allowed to do. Okay, I just was looking in the chat. And what's going to be your responsibility. So I think it's something, if that's something, like when you say time consuming to transfer over, make sure when you choose something that you're choosing something that has the least time consuming, and then you're really clear with your employees about what you're gonna offer and how you're gonna help in that process. And then what's going to be on the burden of the employee. And at the end of the day, if that's not something that's of interest to them, like it might be something that they want to, elect for something different. I think the clarity and the upfront consideration on your part and their part is really where that's going to be helpful to you both. And then, so I see somebody writes, again, Dorothy, you wrote about best insurance for a beginner center. This is a tricky thing because we brought it up a little bit, is there's these things, and the best option for you is going to vary wildly for depending on where you are, how big your center. There's so many details I would need to know. We wouldn't even then be able to make a suggestion for you. My best advice is to look around. If you have a payroll company, talk to them. If you let me see, let's go back to this slide, right? Well, this isn't quite the information I wanted, but if you have a payroll company, you can talk to them about what's offered. If you're part of a shared service, that's a good place to start. If you have a network of peers, right, a business network, if you're part of the state AYC, look around for those. Ask those if you're part of a new business cohort. I know a lot of states have those. Ask your peers who are also just getting started, and use the calculators. There's a calculator on ACA, on the Affordable Care Act website, that can give you a good sense of what's out there in the market. You just need to look around, and you need to have a good sense of what you want to ask. Again, what kind of services do you want? How much are you willing to pay? How much are you willing for your employees to pay? And that'll give you a good sense of what's out there. At the end of the day, again, best, as you put it, Dorothy, is going to be at that intersection of what your employees want, what's of value to them, what you have access to, and what makes sense for your business, and then what you can afford. And then Fred, you asked about COBRA coverage. I see that in the chat. This is something I'm not an expert at. So I probably know about enough to get in trouble, but I would say, there are going to be some requirements, these requirements for COBRA are going to vary state by state. Again, it's something before you enter into a benefits discussion wider, you want to know exactly what's going to be required of you, and how much that's going to cost you, because that's going to factor in, even if at the end of the day, the employee doesn't know that it's something that's required. And beyond that, I'm not sure I have a good, like, I have a lot of like expertise to draw on to answer your question. Since we work nationwide, I'm not as familiar with what those different like COBRA requirements could look like, or what that coverage might look like. So we can certainly, like, you're certainly welcome to email our team. Margaret, if at the end of this conversation, you can put the Georgia coaching email in the chat for everybody, they're certainly welcome to follow up with us, and we can see if there's any expertise that we can either get from the Georgia Thriving Childcare Business Academy team or from our other team members. Thank you, Fred. I'm sorry, both of those questions, I was like, well, it depends, but that's sort of the nature of this. But hopefully we gave you enough sense of like where to start, what to talk about, and what to consider. So that's really, like, at the end of the day, what our coaching is based on. What else? I'm certainly open to answer another couple questions. I want to go ahead and point you to a couple things. The first thing is, just to thank you again for joining us. I do want to make sure you know full well what came out of this session. We gave you that little salary study so that you can have a better sense of a competitive wage in your area, and you can make those data-driven decisions for your business. We think that's really important. We also wanted to make sure that you had a good place to start in terms of, what do I consider when I'm off? What should I consider what should I think about when considering offering benefits? Where to start, how to consider, and then wanted to point you in the direction of next steps for you, depending on what your considerations are. The other thing I'll say, and I'm about to get to it, but just while, okay, let me come back to those. Actually, I'll look at these in the chat. Let's see. Charmaine, you ask, we have interested eligible employees apply for insurance in the marketplace and then give them up $150 a month. It covers their premiums. They can include vision and dental if they choose. I love this peer case study. So you can see one of your peers does it off the marketplace. And they provide a small amount, $150 a month for those premiums, and the employee can customize it how that works for them. And I see another question about place the salary study link in the chat or email it, please. So that actually lives in the resources that will be posted on the Thriving Childcare Business Academy website. I don't even think, Margaret, I don't think we have links to those yet, but we can certainly get those. And since we launched, I think we officially launched the Academy a week ago, those things are also coming up, but they will be in your information. And so don't worry. And why don't I do this? Do you want to do this? Well, let's go back to that slide. Oh, thank you. Margaret's got it. But I'm going to do this. Let's see here. You can screenshot this. This is the steps to conducting a salary study. You're also welcome to follow up with us here at the Thriving Childcare Business Academy coach team. We want to make sure to be able to point you to those. So if you want to screenshot this gives you a good outline, gather your information, do your or rather, know who you want to target, who are your peers in this space. That's awesome. Margaret is hooking y'all up in the chat. Do your homework and then analyze that information, sort it, align it, and then know you're in that top 50%. So hopefully that was helpful. And then there's more things to come on that resource page. Okay, here it was. Wrap up and reflection. Great. Okay, Margaret, just to point everybody again in the chat, the resources are being posted literally, I'm sure, as we speak, by the Georgia team. She has the resources page there. There's also, as I keep mentioning, access to small group coaching on specific topics. Staffing is one of those. She has the registration in the chat there, so you can see specific topics, including staffing, and for that small group coaching, there'll be staffing, a lot of things on staffing, and compensation will be one of them, and retention will be another. We also focus on recruitment, so you can see that. Okay, well, let's get to thank you. I see some thank yous in the chat, and we're approaching our time. Even with our little bit of a false start at the beginning, but I'm so glad it worked out. So thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for being here. We hope this information is valuable. As I said, our goal is that your business is more sustainable and you feel more supported and empowered in this work, that you have a system that helps you. We hope you'll come back again for another Thriving Childcare Business Academy topic in the future. There are going to be a bunch of these over the next few months. Margaret added the resource page. We encourage you to visit there for additional resources and reference material. Those are available in both English and Spanish. Please stay in touch with us, keep plugged in, access as many of these valuable resources as possible. We really appreciate you guys being with us. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck. Thank you, Margaret, for your help. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.